Good morning and welcome into the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier on Tide 100.9 on your radio dial. Well, not so much today. Right now, they're having trouble back at the mothership in the studio. Right now, having some internet and other trouble caused by last night's storm, some technical difficulties, but we will go live right here on Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier powered by MaX Sports on our live streaming network. So we are still live with YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. So we will keep things rolling. I'll be in communication back with the mothership. If they're able to get things going, then we will bring that into the conversation. But if not, you can always interact with us right here on chat. Excuse me. Always interact with us here on chat and give us your thoughts, your opinions, your ideas on what's going on in your world or what you'd like to talk about. It's a free for all Friday, which means we have the opportunity to circle back on any topics we may have had an opportunity to briefly discuss this week. Any recruiting news that you may say, hey, I want to know a little bit more about this or that, you're always welcome to get that back on the docket. And of course, we have opportunities for you to bring a topic to the table. A couple of topics that we've talked about a little bit that we need to put some finishing touches on is the fact that there's a um, NCAA and the big bully tries to strike back with NIL and about gambling. So we can talk about that. Also, you have the uh, Nick Saban conversation X that we really didn't get to. Herb Street saying, "Hey, don't count Nick Saban out. Nick Saban isn't a goat for any reason. Anytime you count him out, uh, this is what I say. X. You ever heard the old story where the old farmer um, was out working in his yard and he had an old out in the field and he had an old well out there, and the old goat fell in it, and the old goat fell off in the hole. So the old farmer tried to figure out how to he could get him out, and he couldn't get him out, and so he just figured the merciful thing was just to go ahead and bury the goat, and he started throwing dirt on him, and he just kept throwing dirt on him, and he kept throwing dirt on him, and all of a sudden. He looks up and he could see the goat looking back up at him, and in that momentary moment the goat could speak, and he said how did you get here? He said, every time you threw dirt on me to bury me, he said, I just shake it off, put it under my feet, and rise up a little bit. That's what's gonna happen with Alabama, y'all better be ready. Nick Saban, all y'all that's burying him, he just taking that dirt and shaking it off and rising up to the top. So we can definitely talk about Nick Saban, this Alabama football team, and their ability to shake off when people count them out, uh, in their ability to rise up. So we can talk about that as well as we can finalize the O line conversation. X, we talked a little bit about that as well, and so. But you may have some other things you want to get to. I saw um, some news where old hands are trying to talk to the new hands and give them some advice. Roy Rogers dishing out a little advice for Clowney and Miller as they get ready to go into the NFL. We'll see what he had to say to them. Ex 4-star cornerback has put Alabama in his top three. And then on the gambling news, we can talk about that. Not the gambling news, but suspension news. Former Alabama offensive tackle. When we talk about the offensive line, guy we don't talk a lot about, but he was one of those first dominant freshman acts under Nick Saban, suspended for PEDs in the NFL. Going to take a nice hit to his paycheck. Yeah, maybe a few other things you'd like to get to, but before we do that, reminding you that this is the day that the Lord has made, so let's rejoice and be glad. Take some time today to notice someone, love someone, serve someone, be the difference you want to see in the world today. And once again, I want to remind all of those acts that's uh, on the live stream with us. They're the only ones with us right now. Back at the mothership, there's some issues that are going on with our studio due to the weather and some technical issues that happened over the night. Everybody else will probably be okay. X. We usually get hit. Uh, we usually get hit the most in the first thing in the morning uh, while they figure it all out. But fortunately for all of those who join us on the live stream, they're able to catch us, and then everybody else that misses can catch us throughout the day. So good morning, live stream crew. We need a lot of interaction. There are no phone lines today at this current moment, but the show must go on, and we'll keep it going right here. And Hey, can I ask you something before you you had a topic you want to get to? Did you see where a blind squirrel tried? He threw a little shot in there yesterday. The 2023 uh what is it? 2023 Pete
Yeah.
playing off playing off of the three Pete. Now blind squirrel, you need to let me know. Is that something that's being publicized over there in Georgia? If not, I'm gonna make some money off of it and just get rich off of y'all Georgia people, and then I'm gonna send the shirts over to some third world country when y'all fall short and there is no three Pete. Go ahead, X.
No, I mean, Blind Squirrel showing a little love this morning. He's saying, "Have you ever thought about posting a film session around some of your favorite games back when you were playing?" So you get giving a little love to us this morning as well. So let
Yeah,
yesterday slide a little bit.
I have I I would like to know what he means by film session, little more detail of what he's talking about. If he's talking about like full games or highlights or me or a group of guys, what is he looking for when he's thinking about that? I have thought X on this free for all Friday. I have thought about um, like favorite plays or like what if you could only go back and watch one game or something like that. I have uh, uh, one thing that made me think about it even today. Roy Upchurch. I wonder when you say the name Roy Upchurch, what's the first thing you think of when you hear the name Roy Upchurch?
The touchdown against Auburn.
That's isn't that it's so funny how like there's certain watch this. You may not be old enough to remember this, but I bet you CJ Watson, he probably remember this. Allen probably remember this, but Allen's driving today, so he probably getting kicked off some radio station somewhere between here and California, as he just gaslights all of these other radio stations as he travels across the country. But um, Dennis Riddle, it's funny. He has it's when I think every time I think about the Roy Upchurch play, I think about the Dennis Riddle touchdown, and they're very similar in terms of the way they happen. So, but anyway, that's kind of fun. There, it's a free for all Friday. We're live local on the airwaves of. Let me see. Let me see. X, while you talk a little bit here about something that may be on your mind, um, let's see if we can figure out what's going on the other side of things.
Yeah, no, I saw an interesting article yesterday, and it was talking about guys that were drafted a little later that you kind of get don't talk about, they're not late round picks. There's not they're these diamonds in the rough, but they're not these first round picks either that get all the love and hype of what's expectations. And the interesting thing about this list, it was a list of 7 players, but 3 of those 7 have ties back to Alabama. And it just kind of shows that and it's Jordan Battle, Drew Sanders, who, yes, finished at Arkansas, and Tyler Steen, the offensive lineman. And to me, it just kind of shows that with Alabama, the depth that Alabama has, we always talk about the guys that go in the first round. You're always going to talk about the Bryce Youngs and Will Andersons and guys and the Jahmyr Gibbs. And then, of course, you even talk a lot about you got a lot of hype and was the first safety off the board. But the depth that Alabama puts in the league, and you see these guys end up having long careers, big impacts. You know, Kenyon Drake was a 3rd-round pick, played 7-8 years in the league. You look at other guys throughout time that were drafted a little bit later, and Jackson, 4th-round pick, huge impact since he's been in the league. So it's just kind of interesting to see that even though these don't have the hype to their names, the people in the NFL and around the league still say, "Hey, these guys are going to be impact players from these Alabama teams," or a guy that transferred from Alabama. Shows just the depth of Alabama's program.
Yeah, definitely there are some guys that to watch for, especially. I think Steen could be one of those guys because of the aging nature of the uh, Philadelphia Eagles. He's one of those guys that he won't be a tackle. I think you could see him with his athletic ability and his size be a pretty good guard and maybe even a good center. So I would look for that move. Doesn't mean that he jumps in this year to that immediately, but like I said, because of the aging component of the offensive line, he's a guy who could do that. And then of course, Battle, I think he's just one of those guys that got overlooked um, because of not overlooked. I'm sorry, there was just safeties. Just they just was a weird year, and so his value, or not his,
Took a hit.
huh?
His value took a hit just because the way safeties were valued this year. And so in past years, he'd probably been a mid-second round pick. He falls later into, but they've got a guy. Cincinnati let an All-Pro safety go in Jesse Bates this offseason. So now they got to replace him, and he's the first safety that they took.
So, and once again, like when you see a guy who is the projected first rounder and he's the first guy off the board, um, it just so happens that it just so happened that it was the second round, but he was still
Yeah,
the guy who was projected as first rounder was the first guy off the board in Brian Branch,
yeah, no,
right?
and it's interesting that everything that you mentioned about him is what they mentioned in this article. His size, his elite athleticism would make him a great fit at guard. And now think about it. You're talking about Philly's 2 guards being Landon Dickerson and Tyler Steen, 2 massive guys that you have pooling their athleticism to open up a lot of holes in that run game and be able to and protect Jalen Hurts when he's dropping back to throw the ball.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So some guys to overlook. Maybe you have somebody that you are going to be watching that would be that would be uh big time players potentially to get out there. So we'd be able to watch them. So if you got somebody out there you'd like to um, throw up in that guys who may be overlooked, or hey, maybe we even have that conversation around the Alabama guys. There may be some Alabama guys that people are overlooking. So um, we would check that out if you wanted to bring that topic up. Hey, we talked about Roy Upchurch. Let me circle back before we take a break here and try to see if we can try something else to get on the air. We'll try that in a moment. We'll be back here for sure, but maybe we can bring in the radio airwave people as well. But Roy Upchurch X is going to be teaching at Dora High School science, but coaching football and track. So we'll see if he's able to have some success there, formerly at Pinson Valley High School. So good luck to him, and thanks for that memory uh, of the Auburn game. Him and Ridley, definitely one of those that stand out. Hey, maybe you want to call in and talk about one of your favorite Bama memories, or at least post it on chat. So please feel free to do that. You're listening to the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier, powered by MaX Sports. We'll be back in just a moment to see if we can figure out what's happening back at the mothership. Thanks for being a part of the program. Hey, this is Martin. Yeah, this is Martin. All right. Good morning. Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show. I think the storm may have got us a little bit on the technical side of things, so we're we're using our ingenuity to try to get everyone back into the show. We've been live on the live stream, so we'll keep broadcasting on the live stream, and you're able to join us there and interact with us and chat with us and let us know what's going on in your mind. Welcome those who are joining us on the phone lines. We're over the radio airwaves, and hey, listen, we don't have as many lines, but we can probably get one or two of you in if you'd like to call us on the Alabama One hotline at 205-342-9904. It's a free for all Friday. So that means, man, it's been a free for all Friday for sure. We talked a little bit about Roy Upchurch and that memory he gave us from the Auburn game because of what he was able to do. But he's now coaching up in Dora and coaching football and track and teaching science. So kudos to him. Um, Blind Squirrel Sport X may have given a good idea. I have to see if I can figure that out. And that may have to be something that MaX Sports does outside of the airwaves, where we break down film because those who are on the radio wouldn't be able to see the actual play. They'd only be able to hear the description of what we saw or what we would be explaining. I've thought about that a couple different times. And so that may have to be like a separate avenue of MaX Sports that we do. So we'll hold on to that thought and idea. We also had a little conversation around um, overlooked rookies. Three guys that have Alabama ties, Alabama Crimson Tide ties to the NFL and to this program, being Drew Sanders and Jordan Battle and Tyler Steen, and talking about why those guys are guys who may be being overlooked but will have great impact and early impact potentially on their team. So, but the other thing that we talked about, X, was they keep trying to bury the goat. And I gave the little highlight, I made a little story of the goat that the old farmer tried to bury, and every time he threw dirt on him, he just shook it off. And eventually he had packed down enough dirt that he jumped up out of that hole and kept right on going. And has enough dirt, I ask you, has enough dirt been thrown in that hole that Nick Saban fell into in the last year or so? Has there been enough dirt thrown on him that he's going to come out as the old GOAT one more time at least? Herb Street seems to think so. What do you think?
I definitely think when you look at it, that Coach Saban can be the guy that doesn't let this knock him down, doesn't put an end to anything when it comes down to his reign and his legacy. Until he retires, I always got a little faith that he's going to shake that dirt off and come up out that well one more time.
Yeah, with Herbie Street said this has actually been the times when he's been the best. Every time you think that Nick Saban is out and you count him out, he just finds a way. The question is, at his age, with the amount of change, has he found that secret sauce one more time? Um, and I'm starting to think he has some of the right ingredients to have that secret sauce to make a nice run and come back. So I guess the question becomes, X, that in that secret sauce, what's the key ingredients for Nick Saban and this Alabama football team to have the impact that he wants to have?
When you stop and think about what this team needs to be able to be successful, I'm going a mean, aggressive offensive line, a great running game, a quarterback that can make smart decisions. Doesn't have to be a world beater, but can make all of the plays when the plays need to be made as well. And then defensively, you're looking at a strong front seven and DBs that know how to cover and not get beat over the top. Those 5 things happen. Alabama wins every game.
All right, so circling back, the let's dig a little deeper. What's number one on that list?
Number one is it starts up front on both sides of the ball. So the offensive line and the defensive line. Offensive line has to be aggressive, power, being able to fire off the ball, pass blocking as well. So, and I think Coach Wolford has gotten us back to that mentality along the offensive line. And then as far as the defensive line, I feel like he has to be same qualities, aggressive, strong up front, and being able to get after the quarterback and stop the run effect.
The more football changes, the more it stays the same. The reality of it is, it always starts with the big hog mollies up front. We get enamored with quarterbacks. We get enamored with running backs. We get enamored with outside pass rushers. We get enamored with DBs and wide receivers and linebackers. And then when you really break down football and you start thinking it all back over again, you go, could they protect the quarterback? No. Okay. But he was talented. And they had really good wide receivers, but they couldn't protect the quarterback and fail in the passing game. Oh, could they run block? No. But they had a really, really talented running back room. But they couldn't run the ball. Why? Offensive line. Epic fail again. So no matter how much you change, could they stop the run? No. Could they could they get to the passer? Yeah, the outside guys could, but they couldn't get any penetration up the middle. So the quarterback could just stand in the pocket all day, survey the field, and step up and complete the pass. Oh, okay. But they had really good DBs. Yeah, but they can only cover for 2.5, 3 seconds. They couldn't cover them all day, all over the field. Why? What happened? Well, they couldn't get to the quarterback. Yeah, but they had great linebackers. They could blitz, right? They could blitz, but you know what? The linebackers couldn't get through because their inside linemen didn't have the ability to demand a double team. So we'll come back on the other side. We'll keep the conversation going. We'll talk a little offensive line conversation. X, we'll finish up our avatar conversation because I want to dig in on, does Alabama have a group of offensive linemen who can take care of business?
Throughout the day, the folks need to hear about, please give me a call, 205-886-8886. Today's the last day to save $6,000 on any in-stock Titan or Armada at Townsend Nissan. Go see BJ and the gang. I guarantee you'll save. I'm Captain Ray. Are you in the market for a new car? Look no further than Julio Jones Kia in Tuscaloosa. Our dealership offers the latest models and unbeatable deals to fit any budget. With our top-notch customer service and experienced team, you'll be sure to drive off the lot with a smile on your face. Come visit us today at Julio Jones Kia in Tuscaloosa, where we make buying a car easy and enjoyable. Now, when you shop with the champ, get top dollar on your trade. Plus, we'll buy your car, even if you don't buy ours. Buy from Julio.com. You know what I don't get? Why is that company always telling you to just do what? What is it? To just look like everybody else? Or maybe just pay way too much for your shoes? Well, Skechers, we know what we want you to do. Just slip in. That's right, just slip in. So hamstring Skechers slip-ins. Why? Because slip-ins are the easiest, most comfortable shoes ever. You don't have to bend down to put them on. You don't even have to touch them. Find slip-ins for the whole family at a Skechers store, Skechers.com, only 12% water. The rest is pure concentrated cleaning ingredients. Pass me the intercom, please. Attention, shop. If you want the real deal, try Tide Pods. Don't pay for water. Pay for clean. If it's gotta be clean, it's gotta be Tide Pods. It's on the leading bargain. Time for the Martin Houston Show. See, Martin, no nonsense in which he played the game. Martin will take you inside the locker room, down on the field, and across the goal line with his in-depth analysis.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier, powered by MaX Sports. Hey, we got a new sponsor I want to hit today. Got a new guy joining us to go back a little while with this gentleman. He and I go all the way back to the days of our kids playing little league sports together. Billy's Cooking, Billy's Cooking Restaurant, located at 3702 Alabama Avenue Northeast in Tuscaloosa, located directly across from the old Holt High School. I mean, literally right across the street. Billy's Restaurant will become one of our regular sponsors. They have a variety of menu items. Wings, barbecue, fried fish. They have Wing Wednesday, 50-cent wings on Wednesday. They have Fish Friday, and they got Soul Food Sundays, X. They're only open Wednesday through Sunday. Each day they start at 11, and then close at in the 5 to 6 o'clock range, and I'll give more detail as we get closer about what we're able to do. He also has a great catering business that he has. So they're going to be closed, taking a little time off to relaunch things, and they'll be relaunching on next Sunday, the 9th. But I want you to make sure you go by and support. If you like wings, you like Billy's Cooking. He said, I don't mean to bother nobody, but I just can't help myself. So that's Billy's Cooking. And X, I'll tell you more about it. You actually know him, but I'll tell you who it is as we move forward. Thank you so much for just being a part of the show, everyone. And as I said earlier, if you're just now joining us, we've had a few technical issues we're working through, but hopefully you're able to hear everything going on. So, X, as we were going to break, we were talking about the offensive line and that being the key to Nick Saban being able to win another championship. Uh, you have any closing thoughts on that conversation we were having yesterday around the offensive line?
Uh, um, as far as I know, I think I hit everything that I really saw with the offensive line. Was there something else that you had?
No, the biggest thing from me was just the fact that um, that this I think we have as much depth. I think we have as much depth from a offensive line standpoint. I think as we've had in a long time. We got some young guys, X, but if you go back and watch that spring game, um, there was a couple drives where the entire offensive line were true freshmen or redshirt freshmen, and they were going against some guys that's going to get some playing time, and they were dominant. It wasn't that they were playing against necessarily the ones, but they were so dominant against the second group that you could see that you have some guys. And I think Saban even said to the ESPN crew that he had about 8 starters. Man, think about how long it's been since we felt like we had 5 solid starters, you know, that you didn't question at all. And Saban thinks that they have 8. So I feel really good about the offensive line. And it's obvious that Coach Wolford has an avatar, and that is big athletic, long, lean, or an extremely intelligent type of player that may not necessarily have as much girth as other guys or much height, but they're kind of the Seth McLaughlin, or as we talked about yesterday in recruiting, Casey Poe type of player.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. You probably said his prototype. It is something to behold when you're looking across the 6'7", the 6'8", the 330 plus. You know, it's big guys, it's long guys, it's smart guys, and then you look at that center, and that center seems to be a little bit more of an athletic type compared to just the true mass and girth of the rest of the offensive line.
Yeah, so that's offensive line component number one. What would you say component number two to Nick Saban being able to shake enough dirt off with all of the changes, coaches, players, losing? Is it possible? Is it really possible that you could lose the best offensive and best defensive player in the draft um, and still be better?
Amazingly, yes. Because I think Alabama relied way too much on those two guys to carry the load. And don't get me wrong, losing them is big, no doubt. Alabama would be great if both of those guys came back. But now it's truly going to be more team ball, where everybody has to carry their weight. It's not all put on one or two guys' shoulders to shoulder the load. And that, in my opinion, when you've got that weight spread out evenly or more distributed throughout the team, you get better play throughout.
Yeah, and with that, when you say they're going to have more weapons, you start going around and start looking and seeing where those weapons going to come from. Um, are those weapons going to come from a different place than what they've been before? For the last few years, our weapons offensively have been the quarterback and or the wide receiver play. Um, Even though we had a Jahmyr Gibbs last year, you just never felt like they figured out how to fully integrate Jahmyr Gibbs into the offense last year. It was almost like they were so reluctant, X, to go ahead and admit that even though we have the best quarterback, most talented quarterback, returning Heisman Trophy winner on our offense would be better if we featured Jahmyr Gibbs at least on par with Bryce, but maybe even at times ahead of Bryce. It was like it was like they were afraid to make that commitment to Jahmyr Gibbs, and I think it cost us. I think it cost us dearly because instead of just coming out against like an LSU and running the ball and not calling RPOs, and just letting that big offensive line, no, it's a run play, and we're going to give the ball to Jahmyr Gibbs. Um, I think it cost us, at least in the, um, well, I would say it probably cost us in both games because the reality of it is we were virtually in field goal range, and we called 3 pass plays. And I know people say, well, Gibbs dropped a pass he could have caught, which is true. That's true that he did. But the reality of it, X, is we had. I don't even know if you've thought about this in that Tennessee game. We had a timeout. We had timeouts, and we ran up in the first play. we called a throwaway pass by Bryce. Bryce raised up and threw the ball out of bounds. As a time, and we had time. We had 2 timeouts. I don't even know why. And then the next play, we dropped the ball. And then the third play, so what, right? But I think if we had been committed to the run, we move the ball to the middle field and get a few more yards. And we're talking about Alabama playing in the playoffs again. Your thoughts?
I agree with that. I don't know what it was last year. Why there was it almost seemed intentional to not feature Jameer as much or to not get the ball in all of our running back hands. I mean, you watch Jace and Roydell get their legs back up on him as the season went along, coming off of a knee injury, but it didn't feel right when it came to the run game. I think part of that is because of Bill O'Brien having it more as RPOs instead of just true run plays. If you have RPOs all the time, that means nasty offensive line can't be aggressive and fire off the ball, hit somebody in the mouth, knock them 4 or 5 yards off the ball, and make those lanes easier for the running backs to make plays and be aggressive in their skill set. So I think it was play calling, not wanting to take any pressure off of Bryce at times. I mean, especially the Tennessee game, you look at that. You threw the ball 50-something times after a shoulder injury.
Yeah.
and only having 13 days off, really, from that injury. So, I mean, it was a lot of things that I think held this Alabama team back last year that you can't rely on this year. There is no Bryce. So it's got to be by committee across the offense.
Yeah, and as you look at this team, actually, we're going to get the break right here as we prepare to keep things rolling right here on the Martin Houston Show. Once again, want to apologize to all of you. We're doing a workaround today to make things work, but we're on the air. We're live, local, and broadcasting. With a little change, we apologize that sometimes Mother Nature is not so kind to us. But hey, we'll be back on the other side. X, and I'll talk to you. What's and give a little play off of your name? What's the X factors remaining for this Alabama Crimson Tide team to get there? We're talking way early in Alabama being a national contender and taking it all. But guess what? Herb Street brought it up, said you're trying to bury the goat. Don't bury him too fast. What's 2 or 3 other things that will prevent this team from being buried too quick? We'll talk about it. You can give your opinions by posting it on chat on the live stream, or you can call us 205 342 9904.
Tide 100.9 traffic. From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, no active wrecks. Things looking pretty good on the roadways on this Friday morning. Now, if you do see conditions throughout the day that folks need to hear about, please give me a call. 205-886-8886. Today's the last day to save $6,000 on any in-stock Titan or Armada at Townsend Nissan. Go see BJ and the gang. I guarantee you'll save. I'm Captain Ray. Here's what's trending on the Tuscaloosa thread. Good Friday morning. A heat warning is in effect for all of West Alabama today and tomorrow. If you need a ride to the cooling stations that have been set up at Volanta Adventist Church, Alberta Baptist Church, and Forest Lake United Methodist Church between noon and 7 today, you can go to the Tuscaloosa County Emergency Management Agency website for the numbers to call. Visit TuscaloosaThread.com for more local news, sports, and weather coverage. Is free.
The Dell Technologies Black Friday and July event has arrived with limited quantity deals on top tech to power any passion. Save on select XPS PCs and more powered by the latest Intel Core processors. Plus, get savings on select monitors and accessories, free shipping, and monthly payment options with Dell Preferred accounts. Save today by calling 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK. Dell, offered to U.S. residents by WebBank, who determines qualifications for and terms of credit.
If you're hiring, it can feel like trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can, the right person comes along, or you can just use Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers.
This helps you find all the right people, even in the most difficult jobs to fill.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Now try ZipRecruiter free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/FREE. Don't miss the grand opening of North River Outdoors and Auto Sales in the old North River Marine location on Highway 43 in Northport.
All right. Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9 on your radio dial and also live streaming. So thanks so much for being a part of the show. We appreciate you guys and gals so much for making the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier what it is. We're powered by MaX Sports, and each and every week we're able to do what we do because we have great sponsors, and one of those sponsors is Harvest Church. Harvest Church, loving God, loving people. Every Sunday and Wednesday, Sundays, 9 a.m. Bible study with a 10 a.m. worship time starting. We'll have our men's ministry kickoff interest meeting on Sunday, July 16th at 8 a.m. So make plans to come by if you're looking to get involved with a church that'll love God, love people, and empower you as a man. Come check us out at Harvest Church, HCTuscaloosa.com. That is Harvest Church, loving God, loving people. Oh, X, man, real quick on the Saban conversation. We're looking at maybe one or two things that you say. These two things, and we'll dig deeper on this because we got all season to talk about this and all summer. But any other thing that you're like, okay, this right here is the X factor.
I think the defensive backfield, even though we lost a good bit with Gordon Battle and Brian Branch, I have a feeling Kool-Aid coming back for his junior year, Shy coming back for his senior year, Darian Arnold another year, Caleb. I think this defensive backfield is going to be a lot better than what people think. Even with losing DeMarco Hellams, like we lost a lot, but I think for some reason that this combination that they got going on is going to prove to be a little bit better than what we've seen in the past.
Yeah, I think depth is huge. You know what my X factor is? It's the two coordinators. If we see any improvement in both of those, I mean, you know, if you look at the offensive side of the ball, if we see Tommy Rees utilize the bulk of the Alabama talent, I think wide receivers are better. I think the running back room is deeper. I think the offensive line is deeper. Okay. So now can Tommy Rees take a quarterback who doesn't have a lot of experience and improve an offensive efficiency? We may not have as many yards because the possessions could be down because we run the ball more. But if we can control the clock, control the game, control the tempo, run when we want to run, pass when we want to run, pass. That's balance, not number of yards, but when we want to do it, we can do whichever one we want to do. I think this Alabama team is going to be tough to beat, X. And I think that that's exactly what a new quarterback needs. But I think that it's been a long time since we've not been good enough to win a championship on the offensive side of the ball. Regardless of, go back and look at all. When was the last time you felt like Alabama wasn't a national championship team offensively? So to me, it has to be. Go ahead. What?
No, I was just saying it's been a while. I can't remember. I don't know.
It's been a while. So I would quickly say that you flip it. So you have to flip it over to defense and go, can Kevin Steele be the X factor? Can he get us off the field in those moments where we've not been able to get off the field? Can he get us that third down stop that gets us the ball back? Can he flip the field and give this young quarterback and this young offense shorter fields, better field position, so that more times than not, Tommy Rees is able to open up his playbook and not be limited? That's, to me, the coordinators become the X factor in how well they work together. We can break down that even more as we talk through the upcoming days, weeks, months in this 2023 season. But that's the X factors for me. X, one of the things we had talked about briefly, and we can hit it, and if we need to circle back, we always can. But the NCAA trying to bite back in the last few days. In the last few past days, they have talked about NIL and they've talked about gambling. They've talked about the fact that they are going to limit, um, not limit, but enforce the NIL NCAA rules. And where the state rules give more uh, leeway than the NIL, like how the collectives operate and how they can pay players and how they can incentivize people to help with recruiting and maybe boosters, et cetera. They said if it violates the NCAA, there's going to be punishment. Is that a idle threat, or is the NCAA and the new leader, are they trying to regain their position and influence? Is the bully trying to fight back?
Definitely trying to fight back, but it sounds like, it's making the rules fair across the board, even though it's a fight back. Each state can't have some set of rules or try to put something in that benefits their school and their schools alone. So I'm not too mad about that.
Well, it's not about being mad. The question is, they've always had these rules. Right? I mean, they didn't add any rules. They haven't added any rules. So the question isn't if the rules are fair. The question becomes, does the bully have any teeth? You see what I'm saying? Like, I could bully be walking around the park, playground, and everybody's scared to stand up to the bully. And then all of a sudden, one kid just pops the bully in the mouth, and the bully runs all crying and all that. And then after a couple of days, the bully come back and going to try to take his territory back. Now, instead of just that one kid, all the kids say, "Oh, you just talk. You can't do anything." That's where the NCAA is at. So the question is, and we can finish this conversation next week, but think about that for a second. Does the bully, because that's what the NCAA has been, X. They have been able to, for years, to say, do this. They have punished their own institutions. They have done all these things. And finally, they got hit back. And I think the punch that was the kid on the park was the Cam Newton situation when Sly and the SEC was able to say, listen, he's suspended, and then in a few days he's not, and the NCAA did nothing to Auburn on the Cam Newton thing, I think that's when the bully got hit in the mouth and ultimately lost all his power. Your closing thoughts?
No, I agree. I think that's what happened. But now the question is there any way for him to get it back? And at this point, 13 years later, I don't know if they can.
Yeah, and we like I said, we can finish that conversation even next week, kick the can down the road a little bit, because they also are trying to they made some rules around NCAA in gambling, and they made some rules around transfer portal. So we'll talk about those things next week as well on the NCAA and whether or not the bully has any teeth as they try to fight back. Hey, that's Xavier Houston. That's Noah Haynes. Hey, that's the Town Square Media Employee of the Month, X. That's Noah Haynes, producer extraordinaire. Congratulations once again, Noah. I'm Martin Houston. This is the Martin Houston Show, powered by MaX Sports with Martin and Xavier. Don't forget to follow Max_recruiting. All things MaX Sports coming down the pipeline. We appreciate you being a part of the show. Remember this: trust in the Lord always. Lean not in your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. Hey, come join us at Harvest Church. Roll Tide, everybody.